All right, and we are back, and this time I'm with Wayne Goodall, the Vice President of Applications Development here in JPAC, as well as Sandeep Mand, Executive Director for Westpac Institutional Bank. Thank you both so much for being with us here in Sydney.
Thank you.
All right, Sandeep, I'm going to put you in the hot seat first. Let's just dive right into it. The bar has been set high for consumer payment experiences, and now we're seeing the demand for enterprise as well as governments to also deliver those same experiences. Can you give us a little more insight from your experience and why this can be a challenging space to get into?
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, consumers are the technology change has been dramatic in the consumer space, and the same consumers are now working in organizations and government departments. So they're asking for improvements in the way B2B payments are working. Let's take an example of virtual cards. Virtual cards has been around for over a decade, and despite that, the take-up has not been very high. And one of the main reasons for that is because the customers have been asked to step out of their platform and move outside of their core processes, generate virtual cards, send it to suppliers. So that means breaking the whole efficiency life cycle.
Right.
And that's exactly what is the barrier. But that's all about to change with the Oracle embedded payment experience. And the common themes that we are hearing from customers on challenges are the technology, the cost of technology to change, the change management process, and also the complexity of engaging IT teams and making those changes. So any solution that addresses those points will get the attention from customers.
Well, that might be in consumer payments, but I think we're also hearing those challenges in general when it comes to adapting new technology, or new in air quotes technologies. But what are some of the key issues organizations are facing with B2B payments, especially across Australia?
Right. I think what organizations are looking at is moving more from a delegated model where the cards are in the hands of employees to a more centralized model. So in a centralized model, effectively all the invoices are going to the centralized team. They're processing the invoices and making those payments.
Got it.
Now, from an organization's perspective, when they have high value and low volume payments, it's all good because those suppliers are well set up. But the key challenges that they face is when they have a low value but high volume of payments. And that is the biggest issue that organizations are facing when it comes to supplier payments. And that because of this, what happens is that the SLAs that they have set for invoice payments, those get missed out. There are a lot of exceptions that they face in the process. Right. The cost of processing increases. So effectively, what's happening is organizations are not able to meet their KPIs, and that's really the biggest issue.
So Wayne, is there anything that you would add to that before we kind of dive into how you're overcoming all those challenges?
It's a big question. I mean, virtual cards has been a real, it's taken a slow uptake, but ultimately if we look at the cost of working capital in organizations and how they can utilize the virtual processes to be able to deliver that, it's part of the B2B cycle that we're going through. It really is changing the way people start thinking about secure payment methods, being able to make sure that there's no leakage in payment formats and so on. So it really is a game changer when it comes to definitely enterprise grade sort of payment cycles.
So then again, adding to this, we're hearing the benefits of it, right? You've talked about some of the benefits. What is Westpac doing to help solve this for your customers?
I think there are two major things that the way we are approaching this. First is at a client level. So what we are doing is we are working with individual clients in a more consultative manner to understand what are the challenges, what is their working environment, what are the challenges they are facing, and what are their goals.
Okay.
Then we collaborate with them to unpack and run workshops to understand how our products and solutions can fit into their environment, work according to their needs, and address those key challenges which they're facing to achieve their KPIs.
So putting your customer first.
Yes. Exactly, that's the key point. And the second thing is working with esteemed organizations like Oracle and MasterCard to develop these market-leading solutions which will help our customer achieve their goals.
So Wayne, how are we partnering with Westpac to really provide a true end-to-end solution with Oracle Fusion Cloud ERP?
It starts at the beginning. I mean, the reason we partner with organizations like Westpac is, one, they've got a breadth of customers. Two, we've got a breadth of customers. But if you look at how traditionally we do things, it's very disjointed. There are payments everywhere, there are receipts everywhere, so money is flowing between, to and from everybody's application. So to have the facility to connect those in an embedded finance perspective, embedded banking, it's been critical, and it's a great message to have that it's going to be very simple. You know, right. Our customers have multiple bank accounts, they have multiple payment methods. So to have that facility to try and synchronize those into something simple and then deliver that as a quick cost of capital process is excellent for.
So I hear you saying simple, right? And I hear you saying this is a big efficiency gain. But why is this innovation so transformational?
There's been corruption. We have lots of security risks these days. You know, everything is electronic, so people are hacking, all that sort of stuff. So to utilize the Westpac framework with the MasterCard framework behind that as a secure payment method, the most secure payment method in the world, start doing things like that. We talk about AI traditionally. People don't want their data to go out there. You certainly don't want your payment information going out there. So to have that in a secure method like it is, then we are seeing more and more customers wanting that more, and they're approaching us to say, in fact, they're approaching us to say, what are you doing in the virtual card process? What are you doing with this? So partnering with Westpac has been brilliant.
So tell me a bit about your experience with this. First of all, what are some of the key benefits that Westpac is experiencing from virtual cards within Oracle Fusion Cloud ERP? And to add on to this, how does this further improve efficiency and cost savings?
Absolutely. So I think the key differentiator of this solution is that it's an embedded payment experience. What that effectively means is that the client does not need to step outside of the Oracle platform. Within the platform itself, they start the journey and they go through the payment process, and all the reconciliation happens itself within the platform without stepping out. So if I look at from a customer perspective, if we start at the first point, which is when they receive the invoices, now they don't need to do a full supplier onboarding. They don't need to capture the bank account details of a supplier. If they're using a mechanism to verify the bank account details, which costs money, takes time, they don't need to do all that. They can do a light supplier onboarding and move through the first step. So that's an efficiency benefit, and it's a cost saving for the customer. When it comes to the payment time, instead of stepping outside of the platform, creating a bank file, going and making a payment on the banking system, the customer can run the invoice runs, and from Oracle platform itself, an API connects to our capability, generates virtual cards, sends it to the supplier, and then automatic reconciliation happens once the payments are processed. So that's another efficiency benefit from a customer perspective, where they don't need to step outside of the platform.
Right.
If I look at financial benefits from a customer perspective, because they're not going to be out of funds on day one, because they're not paying on EFT, they're getting working capital benefits. In addition to this, what we are seeing in the market is the cost of borrowing for some of the suppliers is very high. So they would prefer to get paid early. By moving payments on card rails, the suppliers can be paid early, and suppliers are willing to give early payment discounts to the clients.
Right.
So that's a win-win situation for the suppliers and for the client. In addition to this, from a client perspective, because they are moving payments to card rails, that helps them in improving their payments time reporting, which is a regulatory reporting requirement for the market. So if you think about the entire life cycle, the client has various points in which they can derive efficiency benefits, process efficiencies, as well as financial benefits in the process.
Yeah,
that's where we see the whole embedded experience.
Yeah, those are huge, huge wins. Wayne, why is this a great example of B2B innovation that we're making come true here at Oracle?
Yeah, I mean, we've got quite a few B2B innovations. This is one of the highlights, certainly for me as an accountant, right?
Yeah.
If we look at, and I'm going to pick on something Sandeep said, the highest cost per transaction process in a business is usually the procure to pay cycle, right? Because there are lots of hands touching that process. Then when it comes to trying to be as efficient as possible in there, the best method is to give them payments in their hands as simple and flow that out. Then when I have conversations with CFOs in working capital management, we're talking about when is the right time for cash to go out the door? When it comes to using virtual cards, you're delaying the outbound portion of your payments, and therefore if you've got a cash deficit, you're in a position where you can take advantage of that, and therefore you're not having outflows at that time.
Right.
So when you do cash forecasting, it's one of the methods in the cash forecasting. It effectively means that you can manage your cash better, and if COVID taught us anything, cash management is absolutely the most critical thing to businesses, and it's the top of mind of all CFOs. Working capital management is the top of mind of all CFOs.
Anything that you would add to that, Sandeep?
No, I think you've covered everything really well. So that's pretty
Great.
good.
Well, hey, we are here in Sydney, and as a VP of Applications Development here in the region, and as a customer here in the region, why is it so great to have an event here locally? We haven't done it in a minute. So, Wayne, I'll start with you.
Well, look at the buzz, first of all, right?
Yeah.
The buzz, it's noisy, it's buzz, the things are happening. As you said, we haven't done this for some time. Mm-hmm. And actually, our customers have said, why aren't we doing Sydney, right?
Right.
It's one of the biggest jurisdictions, ANZ as a whole, in our region. Mm-hmm. So it was really important to add to that, I think, in the CloudWorld Tour. And if you see, I talk to many customers, I've been on stage with many customers, they get to learn an awful lot from other customers.
Yeah.
So putting them in a room together is critical for their success, for our success.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to connecting the dots, these CloudWorld events are amazing. I mean, Absolutely. I've done all the ones in the region, and this one is a good buzz.
That's awesome. Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, look, I think events like this will break the inertia, because what happens is customers, many times they're just sitting back, they've gone back into their BAU. But when you come out into an event like this, to what you said, you're effectively creating a community where people are sitting around discussing, listening to speakers, and then sharing common challenges and trying to identify what someone else is doing better and growing together. So I think these events like this are quite significant. And for us from Westpac, I think it was very critical for us to come out to this event, showcase that we have a capability that is available, and we are the first bank and the only bank in Australia to partner with Oracle to be able to offer this embedded experience to our existing and prospective customers.
Well, that's music to our ears for sure. So we're really glad you're having that experience, and so glad that you've been here with us. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks,
Thank
Kendall.
you.